Where's the outrage? It's like, where's the violence? I sit here and just, it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Because I listen to a lot of this, right? Even from Bill Maher on down, and I have a begrudging respect for him because he's unvarnished, like we are. It doesn't candy coat it, doesn't BS. Politically, I'm sure we're very different. But even he had guests on, and he had I forget the Colorado public official, but he kept going after the jury. Well, are you saying that the jury was fixed? No, we're not saying the jury's fixed. The jury followed the rules as laid out by the judge. Right.
I mean, here's the thing. If everyone can pick a different crime to be guilty of, and that somehow makes it unanimous on all counts, that is set up by the judge. I've never heard of that. Right. You have to be unanimous. It is, you don't get to pick and choose which count, and then they all are, then you get a sentence for all of them. It doesn't, I've never heard of that, ever.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You got to get into the weeds on this. Most people, first of all, we try not to get into the weeds because you get lost in there, right? But most people are only going to go, oh, Trump is guilty. He's a convicted felon. And by the way, that's the talking point that the Democrats want. They wanted to do two things. Correct. They wanted to slow down, Trump's reascendancy into the political process and handicap him as however they could. And now they're going to keep going. And the talking points are already out there. Convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. It's all they're saying. But understand this key point. It's not just that the state prosecuted a federal law that the feds deemed not to rise to the level worthy of prosecution. Is that it would have been a misdemeanor. They had to take the federal law and bring it into New York and say, well, that violation contributed to a second violation, which makes this a felony and therefore not a misdemeanor, or they couldn't prosecute it. And by the way, in the entire trial, until the judge addressed the jury, no one said what the second crime was.
Well, and I think what's so insidious about this, and actually kind of delightful, if I may, is that if they can do this kind of legal gymnastics out in public view in front of everyone and screw over someone absolutely famous, again, in public. Right. I think a lot of Americans are waking up and going, oh my God. Like, I also know that my brother and my uncle or somebody I know got screwed over by the government. And now this guy, I mean, they're doing it in public. Like, I think the evidence for the American people being fed up is the $52 million.
No, not 52. Keep going. You are way short. First of all.
In 24 hours, in the first 24 hours?
Oh, I thought 72 hours. I mean, if you add it all up, it's $200 million, right?
In 3 days?
In 3 days, right? But here's the key in all of this. If you remember back, I don't know, was it a month ago, 2 months ago, they had the fundraiser to raise all fundraisers. Trump was visiting the funeral, I think, of the slain, either police officer or fireman. I think it was the police officer. And that's when they asked the governor Hochul to leave. Biden's in town, Obama's in town, and Clinton's in town. They do the mega fundraiser for the Democrats. They shatter all records. Put this in perspective. They raised $25 million at a single event. This dwarfs that. And, you start going through all these articles of all these people who basically said, one guy, Sean McGuire, LA-based venture capital, voted for Hillary right after donated $300,000 to the Trump campaign. And here's the quote. And there are a lot of other people who have been doing this. I won't bore our listeners with this, but he said, we were told Donald Trump would be the end of democracy. But it turns out that lawfare tactics have been escalating by the Democrats and not the Republicans. And so it's from the backdrop that I believe Republican Party is less of a danger to democracy than the Democratic Party is right now.
That's right.
And that's what you're seeing. So, I mean, look, I still think this election is close. I still think that there's going to be some chicanery. I still think that out of the question that you see a domestic terrorist attack as a way of sort of scaring the people. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, they got $70 million in just small donations. Forget about the people writing big checks. They got $70 million in 72 hours, dwarfing a mega event with Obama, Clinton, and Grandpa Joe, or FJB as I like to call him.
The only way I can see Trump losing. Well, hold on, you guys. We got a warning last week. We got our video taken down last week because I said something that was
shame
according to YouTube guidelines. I was just about to say something that might get us kicked off YouTube again.
Hey, I don't need another strike. I'm a baseball player. 3 strikes
I know,
and you're out.
right? So 2020 was the freest and fairest election of all time, except for how it wasn't. And and we know now that there was that the social media companies silenced people who were pro-Trump, who were Republican, who were conservative. We know because it's now out in the open that all the social media companies were engaging with the government to censor speech around
and they're going to do it again.
Laptop and other things.
And they're going to do it again.
Exactly. And so, this is why it's so important, you guys, to be courageous and talk to your neighbors. Look, first of all, learn how to not be a butthole.
Excuse me. Be like Mark Fitzpatrick, and in the month of June, celebrate heterosexual awesomeness.
This is what I'm saying. Politics. And be proud of it.
Right.
And don't be afraid to don't let these bullies who use anger and fear to manipulate you into silence. Are you a coward? You're not. So cut it out. Right? Okay. The Lord did not give you a spirit of timidity and fear, but that of a lion. So stop being a coward and go stick up for your country. That's my lecture for the day.
Thank you. Are we done on the bully pulpit?
I'm done.
Bullies? Okay. So
school marming. I'm done school marming.
Okay. So okay. So I'm like getting all this. Okay, there you go. Better. You're supposed. I love that. You're assuming I read that stuff. But in any event, the other thing I like. So the radio DJ or radio talk show host Hugh Hewitt finally did something no one else has done. Okay, he comes out with a list of a recap of everything they've thrown at the bad orange man, right? Because get Trump, and there are like 50 things. I want to just go through all these, if you don't mind indulging me for a second. This is how much incoming fire, and it's finally cataloged. No one has done this. And by the way, I don't know if I'm going to get through it all, but it's 3 freaking pages.
Okay.
So we start with.
So wait, what is this again? This is all the things that they've accused Trump of?
This is everything they've thrown at him in the kitchen sink.
Okay.
From 2015 forward. I mean, you want to know what a threat this man is to the Democratic power and the Democratic sort of, money game of all of this?
Yeah.
And the whole wokeism crap. So bear with me, folks. Hillary's private server, rules it violated in the threat to national security posed, and no prosecution for it. Hillary's lawyer's deletion of half of her emails, and no prosecution for that. Hillary's use of bleach bit and hammers, and again, no prosecution. Former FBI Director James Comey, nothing to see here. Let's not forget the Steele dossier, the Perkins, Coie, and Mark Elias law firm who created the dossier, the leak of the Steele dossier, the meeting, or he calls it the ambush, when Trump meets with CIA Director Brennan, FBI Director Comey, and DNI Director Clapper at Trump Tower in January 2017 to discuss what was going on and somehow was leaked to the press. The recusal of Jeff Sessions, the appointment of Rod Rosenstein, you've got Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and the corruption at the FBI, the Mueller report that after several years after 22 months found nothing. The refusal by the Trump team to send then Attorney General William Barr a version of the report unredacted, the smear of Barr afterwards, the leak of the Trump phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the manufacturing of impeachment one. Let's not forget Mr. Pencil Neck, Adam Schiff, now running for Senate and all the truth that came out of there.
Did you talk about the P tape?
No, I didn't get the P tape yet. The change in voting rules because of that disease that shall be nameless.
Virus of unknown origins.
Yeah. Zuckerbucks and Zuckerboxes, the Commission of Presidential Debates, and its unilateral decision to cancel one. Let's not forget the Hunter Biden laptop that was suppressed. And then the letter from 51 former senior intelligence officers concluding that Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation.
Those people should be prosecuted. How are those people not prosecuted?
Right. That was
like a lie. That was a straight up, that was a fabrication.
I know. The second impeachment after January 6th. By the way, folks, I'm not even done with page 1.
Oh my God.
You know, the setup by the FBI of Michael
Flynn. That's like the first year of his presidency.
The FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. I mean, Jack Smith appointed. I mean, he finally, and then obviously we end all of this, and I'm not going to read the rest of it, but look up the article by Hugh Hewitt. It's called, what's it called? 50 Reasons Why 70 million plus in small donations poured in after Trump verdict. That's the article, right? And he lists them all. And, it's one thing when Ericka, you see these and you remember this, but to see them all on 2.5 to 3 sheets of paper, you go, oh my God, how is this guy still standing?
And I don't think it would be name another person in the United States that could withstand all of this. And still, Robert, they have been okay, imagine this. They have combed through this man's entire history.
Right.
And the only things they've been able to find to prosecute him on aren't actual crimes. Or they have to entrap him and make something up. I probably commit a crime every day, for God's sake. I definitely don't do the speed limit. But
well, and I definitely don't do the speed limit. But look, I think the important thing here to understand is that there wasn't a crime that was discovered and then they said who perpetrated the crime. They said we need to get Donald Trump because he's a threat to democracy. So we're going to trash democracy, not follow rule of law, to get this man because he's bad. And look, let's be really clear. So Nigel Farage, right, who headed up Brexit, is now running to be in Parliament, right? But Brexit is fundamentally a populist uprising. Bolsonaro in Brazil at the time was a populist uprising.
Yeah.
Milei in Argentina is a populist uprising. Trump and what he personified was a populist uprising. The elite leaders, mostly Democrats, some Republicans, but mostly Democrats, are scared to death of the people. That's really the issue, right? So Trump is an existential threat to their grip on power because their view is that they know, everything from trust to science on down. And we're going to talk about our friend Mr. Fauci later, right? Donald Trump
is dump YouTube for that segment.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to dump YouTube for that segment. So because I don't need no more strikes.
Nope.
But Donald Trump is a existential threat.
Yeah.
To them,
yep.
And therefore he has to be destroyed. I don't understand. And again, I only went through 1 page. There's another 2.5 pages of all the things that were thrown at him. That, God bless Hugh Hewitt. Someone finally cataloged them. I mean, it's incredulous to me. Yeah. But I was talking to a friend. I was in DC last week on some meetings. Israel Appreciation Day, www.israelappreciationday.com.
Yeah.
Go check it out. And there's always wiggle room in elections, meaning there's always a stress load factor. Normally the conventional wisdom is as long as you win outside a 3% margin, the results generally are valid. 2020 threw that out, all that out the window.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine who is very wired into this says that Donald Trump has to win by more than 7% in November to win this election. That's a hell of a bar.